Hey, you scumfucks! Welcome to episode 14 of the Nothing to Play podcast, a mediocre podcast about video games, movies, and Sonic fanfiction. As always, it's your boy, Just-in-Time Carter, and...
I was not told about that last part, the Sonic fanfiction. I was not told that this was going to be a thing.
You didn't know?
Well, apparently I do now, so...
Well, now that you're in the fold, I was like, I hope you brought, that was your assignment before coming on the podcast. It was a 3-paragraph minimum Sonic fanfiction.
I was wondering why you were so interested in Big the Cat, but, apparently now it makes sense.
Dude, Adventure DX was the only game I played, and I only played Big's missions solely for that.
Well, I mean, that's the right way to play that game, so, yes.
If you didn't know already, special guest this week. I've been trying to hunt him down for a while, but he's been a busy man on his own podcast, That Pixel Life, and having family vacations. Zach Anderson.
Yes. I'm working myself to death, but it's all in good fun, and to pay the bills and stuff like that. But hey, it's good. And then this has been Justin has been one of our favorite guests on That Pixel Life, and I'm more than happy to return the favor, so thanks for having me.
No problem. You got to get in those working hours while you're young.
Yeah, right. It's a shame I'm not young anymore, but, gotta do it.
But see, one day your kids will be old enough that they can take care of you. Isn't that how it works?
I mean, that's kind of the goal, right? I think that's why all these, because my kid plays soccer now. He's at the age where, you do the AYSO soccer and all that. And it's funny, because these are children, 5 and 6 years old, and there are parents out there thinking, these guys are auditioning for the U.S. men's national team or something. And it's like, bro, I understand your goal of, I want to make my kid a pro athlete so I can retire, but, it's not going to happen, man. Just let them run. They can barely kick a ball. Just let them just run up and down a field a little bit. It'll be fine. Yeah.
You're not going to make the World Cup playing like that, Jonathan.
Exactly. Living and dying with every single kick and, ref call. It's everyone's a volunteer here, homie. Calm down. Just, pull up a chair, have a cup of coffee. It's fine.
Grab your orange slices and just fucking enjoy.
Hey, man. I had forgotten how good an orange slice was until my kids started playing soccer. I was like, son of a bitch, I like oranges. I forgot about this.
Oh man, so how have you been? I know you just went. Did you go to Disneyland? I know you went to California.
Yeah, no, we took a trip down south to San Diego actually.
Ooh.
and hit up San Diego Zoo, and then their version of California Adventure, which is the Safari Park. So it's another San Diego Zoo, but it's a little different. But it's still basically a zoo. I don't fucking know. And then we went to SeaWorld, which I think that's not PC anymore to say you went to SeaWorld, but we did, so I don't know. And it was great, man. I will, hot tips, if you want to go to any of those things, do that 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, because there was fuck all for people there. No one was in those parks. It was amazing. We got to just walk up to everything. There was no crowds at any of the big attractions. All the shows at SeaWorld was just walk in and sit down. There was no lines. There was no nothing. Half the restaurants were shut down. Or, all the restaurants were open in the parks, but they were all where usually there's 18 cashiers, there was one, and they weren't busy. It was great. It was awesome.
You're they didn't pass their health inspection, so they were all shut down.
Yeah. Well, no, it's because there's my family and 12 other people in the whole park, so it's we don't really need to keep all this open. But it was really cool though. My kid had a blast. He got soaked by an orca during the show, so I think that was pretty fun. And you got to see some dolphins, and he's really into sharks. So they have one of those cool it's not as cool as Jaws 3, but the Jaws 3 tube under the water where all the sharks are swimming around you, type thing that you can walk through. And so that was super rad. No big great whites coming and breaking the tube though, which was disappointing for me. But I'll take it away. You can get it.
You're like, every shark movie I saw was a lie.
It's all been a lie. Yeah, totally. And but the my daughter is super into giraffes and tigers and all. Like she's 2, so she loves all those type of things. So and that was the best part, honestly, about the San Diego Zoo was like the tiger exhibit in the safari park. I could see where in the summertime there's like no way for little kids to really enjoy that because they're like the way the glass is and everything. And I'm sure that's just a wall of humanity that like no little kid can get to the front of. Like my kids were like sitting by themselves eating snacks at the window, just like chilling with the tigers. It was awesome. Like it was so great that there was no one there. But yeah, no, it was a good time all the way around. And then my brother-in-law lived down there for like 10 years or something like that. So like on every night I would hit him up and be like, hey, we're in this neighborhood and we want like Mexican food. Where to go? And he'd be like, oh, go here. And then the next night, all right, where's a good Japanese place? Oh, you're going to want to go here. And like every place he directed us to was some of the best food I've ever had, and then, and I was texting him on the way home. And it was like, hey, man, thanks again for all the tips. And he's like, actually, I'm just really jealous. Like, you've eaten at all the places I want to eat at. I don't live there anymore. So it's like, he's just mad at me that I got to, like, have his food tour.
You're, like, living his best life.
Yeah, totally. I was like, thank you for curating this list over 10 years, of, like, good places to eat that I took advantage of in a week. It was awesome.
Dude, that's, like, one of my... Last time I went to SeaWorld was back in like 2001. Mm-hmm. And what my favorite memory from going to SeaWorld is, funny enough, SeaWorld is my dad had like a camcorder, like one of the big heavy fucking old school ones, right? Yeah. The little mini VHS that you plugged into a big VHS.
You had the adapter VHS to like play it in the VCR. Yeah, dude, totally. I had one of those.
So he had one of those, and the last family video we have is from that SeaWorld. And it's because we were in the splash zone at SeaWorld, and it's like every time it's like it would almost kind of warn you that it was going to come. So he would stick the camera under the bleachers, and it was the end of the show, and he's like, all right, like filming or whatever. There's no warning. And then right behind the dude, Shamu did this huge fucking backflip and landed. And all of a sudden the camera, you see this torrential wave come towards the camera, and then it hits it, and the camera hits the ground. You just hear my dad, and he's like, God fucking damn it, son of a bitch. The video just starts like going in and out, and then it just cuts off, and that's like the end because the camera died.
You have to rip that and put it on YouTube. That is so great. That is gold right there.
Yeah, I went and like rewatched it like a year ago because I was at my parents going through all the videos. I was like, dude, SeaWorld, the last one.
That's so great. That's so good. So yeah, okay. Answer me this. Do you remember those shows when you were a kid being like 45 minutes long? Like they were like long, right?
I remember it, being like an hour. Like
right? The shows that we saw, we went to the dolphin show, the killer whale one, and the sea lion one. They were all like 15 minutes tops. And I'm wondering if that's because of the whole like blackfish controversy for SeaWorld, or like maybe they don't want to like overwork the animals now or something. But it was, me and my wife were looking at each other like, because I mean, I haven't been there since I was probably 12, and like neither had my wife, and we were both looking at each other like, this seems really short. Like, doesn't this seem like we're just burning through this? Like, it was just weird, like it was just one of those like, okay, that's it, we're over. It's like, well, it seemed like you're just starting, but okay, I guess I'll leave. Yeah.
You're like, I waited like 45 minutes for this show to start. You're like, and then it's over in 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. That was the thought. I mean, thankfully, with the parks being so empty, it was just wander in and grab a seat 2 minutes before the show, and it wasn't a problem. But if I was in line for like an hour during, hot ass July or something, I would be pissed if that was that short then. Like, oh my God. But no, it was a good time all the way around, and managed to. Okay, so it's one of those funny things. Like, you're familiar with the West Coast, obviously. It always cracks me up when you talk to people that are from the East Coast, and they think like states on the West Coast work like states do on the East Coast, and everything's right next to each other. So I was talking to a buddy of mine. I'm like, yeah, we're going down to San Diego. And he was like, oh, like, that's pretty close to where you are though, right? And I was like, nah, dude, I'm going to be in the car for 8 hours. Like, that's a drive, and he's like,
but you live in California.
yeah, exactly. And I was like, yeah, I live in the middle of California, actually, and it's still an 8-hour drive. Like, you don't understand. And I was like, look at it this way. Because he's in the, kind of in that, like, South Jersey area. I was like, if you got in your car and went the same amount of miles I did, you'd be in basically Charlotte, like North Carolina. Like that's where you would end up. And he was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize California was that big. I'm like, yeah, and there's another like 6 hours north above me that you can drive.
You're like, my state is like the size of 6 of your states.
Yeah, yeah. It's like your entire eastern seaboard is essentially my state. So yes, like, yeah. But it always just cracks me up when people, because I think it's one of those things. And why would you if you lived in the East Coast your whole life or whatever? Like, why would you think differently? But it's that people just don't have a sense of scale when it comes to California. And yeah, it was a long ass drive, but it was a good drive. Kids made it. No problems. Like I was stressed with that it was going to be one of those hellacious, drives, and I was going to be like the stereotypical dad, just like hating life at the steering wheel, like. But no, it was good. It was a good time.
Dude, that's good. I was like, yeah, I remember. I imagine now. It's been so long since I've like done any sort of like real long car trip like that. But with like, iPads and like Switches and stuff like. I remember like having to like point my Game Boy like at the street light trying to play fucking Pokemon like
totally
at 8 at night, like
seeing how many times I could beat Super Mario Land like on a drive. It was just one of those things. Burning through 8 AA batteries at a time in those old school Game Boys.
Like, holding a flashlight in my mouth while I'm like sitting there under the covers trying to play.
Yeah, totally. It's so funny. But yeah, it's a whole new world now. Cause I can remember as a kid, I would bring like my comic book collection with me on drives and like just read through like stacks of comics and like, just anything to pass the time, and yeah, my kids were watching movies and like playing their music and all this stuff. It was hilarious. My daughter has, unfortunately discovered Frozen. So that soundtrack gets played a lot right now. It's unfortunate. But it's happened, so that's a hard reality for me that I'm suffering through right now. And then she, and then everyone goes, "Oh, you like Frozen? Well, the new movie's coming out." So now she's all hyped up to go see that, and I'm like, guys, I'm not taking her to a movie theater. Like, would you stop all this? Like, stop it. But
like, why would you do this?
Yeah. What? Like, I'm like looking at my family members, like, you are just setting me up for film. Like, fuck all of you. What are you doing? Like, no. But yeah. But that might be her first movie. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if she's up for it though.
I know, like my fiance's like little brother and stuff. We took him to like go see like Guardians of the Galaxy and shit like that. And it's like 3-4 times he had to get up to like go to the bathroom, and I'm like, this isn't fun for me. Like I'm like, I have to take him, and I'm missing the movie, and I'm gonna walk in front of everybody, go back, and he's like playing in the fucking toilet and shit. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm like,
well, it was funny. On Pixel Life, we had a co-host that left, Josh Faulkner. Everything's totally cool. He just got super busy and had to move on. But he has a son that I want to say is 5 now. And he was talking about wanting to take him to go see Toy Story 4 as his like first movie, because he's a big Toy Story kid. But he was like, but I want to see it, so I don't want to take him because I want to see the movie. And I'm like, okay, dude, like, it's one of those things, like, 'cause I did it with a couple Pixar movies with my kid too. It's like, you either have to go see it yourself and then go take him back, or just be prepared that you're not going to see it. Like, you're going to miss chunks of it. Like, just be prepared. Like, you are not going to have this experience of, I'm going to sit down and watch this movie from beginning to end. Like, it's not happening. Like, and so it's just one of those things with the kids. It's like, my son now enjoys movies. Like we took him to, I think the last thing we took him to was Detective Pikachu, and he was way into it. Because Pokemon Go rules his life right now. So, it's one of those things, like he's super into that world. But did you see that movie?
I did.
Okay.
I have like mixed feelings on it, but I know it's also meant for children. Like, so
yeah, that was kind of. I was just about to say, like, I didn't really like it all that much, but I also know it's not meant for me at all. Like, I'm a 40-year-old man. Like, they're not going like, what does this 40-year-old Caucasian man like? Like, let's make that movie about Pokemon. Like, no, that's not it. But the thing that was great. So we get out of the movie theater. And you know the scene, it's spoilers, I guess, with the amazingly gigantic Torterras?
Yeah.
And they're all running from him and all that stuff. And if we get out of the movie, and Jonathan, I'm like, hey, how'd you like it? And he goes, oh, I liked it. It was really good. He's like, I just really didn't understand one thing. And I'm like, and I'm thinking like one thing, like I didn't get half that movie. It didn't make sense, but sure. What's the one thing, and he was like, why did that scene with the giant Torterras go for like half the movie? Like they didn't really do anything with that. And I was living there, I'm like, that's hilarious. Because I'm in the movie theater going like, okay, this scene is still going. Like it isn't ending. And they don't do anything with it. Like they get away from there and it's just like, and apparently there's just this valley with like 20 giant Torterras in it now. We're never mentioning it again. Moving on. And it was like, and like this, my son was 5 at the time, was flabbergasted about like, where did they go? What are they doing with these Torterras? And I was like, okay, yeah, it wasn't just me. At least a child is like, yeah, why would you spend so much time on this and do nothing with it? But I don't know. It was hilarious.
Dude, I had like multiple feelings throughout the movie, similar to that, like when they go on the bridge and there's like the Greninja star. I'm like, it's made of ice. I'm like, that would have been melted. Like, why the fuck is that still there? Right. Or like when he took over Mewtwo's body, I'm like, you have like the power of a god at your hands and you can't like beat a 10-year-old kid in a Pikachu. Like, what the fuck is like wrong with you? Like,
well, and also like, you can't just also fix yourself at that point. Like Mewtwo apparently can do anything, so it's just like, I'm just gonna fix my old self and okay, we're good. Everyone's back. Like, that movie is so flawed. But again, movie for children. I'm not gonna spend too much time dissecting it,
Oh man, I was like, speaking of Pokemon, I heard you got did you get Sword or did you get Shield?
I went Sword because my son and I looked through all the exclusives, and he liked the exclusives better in Sword than Shield.
What are the exclusives?
Shit, I'm blanking on the name. Oh, give me a minute. But I was looking at all of them myself, and I probably would have leaned Sword or leaned Shield instead of Sword, but there was one like double-headed dragon looking thing that he was the Dino, and then it evolves into Hydreigon, and so he was all into that, and he liked the far-fetched evolution that has the massive sword. Was it Surfetched or whatever?
Yeah, little leak sword.
yeah. So he was way into that, and then he liked the I can't pronounce the legendaries in this game. Do you know there was like Zweilous or something like that? But he liked the fact that he had a big sword in his mouth, so he wanted that one instead. And I figured with the link trading that they have now and everything, like we can figure out how to get all the others eventually. So, but yeah, we're doing Pokemon Sword, and Jonathan has picked was it Grookey? Grookey is our starter, so we're going through that. I found it interesting. Are you playing it?
No, I do want to get it. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's like so close to Christmas where I'm like, that's like a easy like I want it for Christmas kind of gift, so I just haven't picked it up.
Totally.
But I've been watching people play it online and stuff, and like listening to different reviews and stuff.
So they pulled some mechanics from Let's Go, which are welcome in the tall grass and stuff. In this version, you can see the Pokemon that are in the grass, they did in Let's Go, and it lets you kind of avoid confrontations if you're trying to just get from point A to point B. You'll still have a random encounter here and there. That's kind of just a roll of the dice, but it's very much more limited. And my daughter is screaming. I apologize for that in the background.
It's all good.
But it's very much more limited than it has been in prior games. And I find that it moves pretty quick. They throw a ton of Pokemon at you in that game, like real early. Like I remember, in the old, traveling from Pallet Town days, it was like, yeah, that first route's going to be nothing but Weedles and Caterpies and, Pidgeys.
Pidgeys and Ratttas, everywhere.
It's going to be like 4 or 5 types. That's it. I'm up to I'm an hour and a half in through our playthrough right now, and I want to say our Pokedex is at like 30 Pokemon or something like that. Because it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'm just going to catch them, the new ones as I see them, and move on. And it doesn't do the thing that Let's Go did where you can catch a ton of a certain type and the stats start stacking and stuff like that. So it's just one of those, like, I don't know if it's good or bad, but I'm not catching 20 of these. I'm just going to catch one and move on, because, I played enough Pokemon to know 2 hours into the game, your team is pretty much like 90% set. You're like, okay, there's the fire one, there's the water one, I've got a psychic one now, I'll swap out a fairy what type when I get it, and okay, let's go, And so I've kind of just got, I've played enough of them to kind of default into that state. But I mean, maybe they're just throwing so many at you that they want you to swap out teams or something. It'd be nice if there was some sort of like, you could swap out a whole team here or there, for different scenarios. But I find myself just, I stick with the same ones and roll. But it's a really solid game on the whole. It's a Pokemon-ass Pokemon game. Like, they didn't overthink it too much, but the quality of life changes they made really, really help. Like they've rounded out a bunch of the edges. Fighting it all of it seems really smoothed out as opposed to the Alolan ones, Sun and Moon. It seems like Sun and Moon was a great first step from Black and White as far as I was concerned, as far as trying to refine what they had built over. This item and blah blah blah. There's a lot of things you can hotkey now as opposed like potions and things like that. And you can still like give the Pokemon berries to hold that'll like speed that process along during battles and things like that. But no, I'm really into it. It's rock solid. Like it's really good. If it's one of those things, like if you've played Pokemon before and you kind of liked it, you'll probably really like this one because they fixed a lot of the little quality of life things that got annoying in the old ones. And also like I'm in way really interested to see my kids' reaction as it goes along because Pokemon's really do make a great my first RPG. For little ones. And I know, I was 20 years old when Red and Blue came out and I still love them. Like I'd played the hell out of some RPGs in my life at that point, and I still thought it was a great like palate cleanser RPG. Cause, by that time you had your Chrono Triggers and Chrono Crosses and Final Fantasy 9s and, and all that stuff, and which are crazy menus, system driven, battle systems, so on and so forth. And it was really refreshing at the time to play something that was so stripped down. Like, it was just so basic. It was almost NES style RPG for its time. And it was really refreshing. And to see that system got turned into that super bloated, crazy, over the top, okay, we got crazy systems and battling and breeding and, you know, clothing and all this shit that they're adding onto it. So to see them kind of get back to what made that whole thing fun in the first place, with modern graphics, modern controls, you know, all that camera work and things that you expect from a modern game now, it's been really refreshing to see. And I think it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, I thought it was cool that they, like at the Pokemon centers now, I saw that you can change like your Pokemon's name just at the center now. You don't have to hunt down the name raider dude. He's just there, which was nice. And that like you can catch like Pokemon and just immediately switch them into your party or send them into a box.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
So it's like,
I was just about to say, you don't have to do the like, okay, I need to go drop like 5 dudes off to go pick up 5 and then bring them back and then get another 5. And then, you know, you can just keep transferring them to boxes as you go. You don't have to go to a Pokemon Center to redo your roster. You can do it all on the fly. It's just, it's all that little type of stuff that just keeps the game moving. You're not spending, you know, 20 minutes to a half hour every time you want to just adjust a roster or figure out what works, you know?
Yeah, that's what I thought was nice about like Sun and Moon too, was I think that was the first one where it's like they didn't have like HMs per se, where it's like you just did the thing and you just flew, so it's like you didn't have to have somebody in your party that could learn fly and make them lose a move slot just for fly, just to do that.
Yeah. It was, and I mean, there's something to that though, like. I see where purists, I get where they're coming from when it's like, no, but like there's strategy to that and there's elements and there's things that, you know, they're put in the game that make you work around them and there's a fun in that. And I understand that. But at the same time, I'm not 20 years old anymore and I ain't got 10 hours a day to play these things like I used to. So for me, getting that stuff out of the way to actually get to more of the game, like what the actual game is way more enjoyable for me. And it's like, I understand that that's also just me. Like that's where I am in my life right now, you know, because it's very similar to when I see people like when Death Stranding just came out, right? And people are like, oh, you gotta play it. Yeah, I've talked to multiple people and I've read multiple reviews that were just like, really, once you get 8 to 10 hours in, the game opens up and you really get a lot of, and I'm like, dude, that's the game for me. Like, I don't have another 50 hours to give you after I've given you 8. You know, like I don't care how good it gets at that point. Like, I'm done, you know, but I also recognize that there's a lot of people that aren't in my situation that do have that time. I'm just not one of them. So it's, you know, not every game is made for every person, but that's where I do enjoy these type of things. Because the Pokemon's very different from Death Stranding, obviously, because it's on the Switch and because I can play it on my lunch breaks and stuff like that. I will probably put in the 50 to 60 hours I need for a Pokemon game. Whereas Death Stranding, because it's tied to my TV and I can't play it on my lunch break because I don't have the data for it to stream it, you know, or anything like that. It's just never going to happen for me. Also, I'm not a big Kojima guy, but yeah.
Right, you're like, I'm no Robbie Stiltonpool.
no, yeah. Our other co-host Robbie is Mr. Kojima, and we give him a lot of grief for that on the show. But also is one on a show we did before the Pixel Life. Robbie was kicking and screaming that we voted Ori and the Blind Forest Game of the Year over Metal Gear Solid 5. And it was mainly, to this day, it's a point of contention between us because I hated Metal Gear Solid 5. Like, I thought it had a decent, like, mechanics. Mechanically, it was probably the best Kojima game I've ever played. But goddamn, that story was just so dumb. Like, and I don't care about the lore. Like, it lost me so fast. And like, the deeper I got down that well, the more I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever played. What is this? You know, but to Robbie, you know, the other side of the coin is like, this is art. This is amazing. Like, look at how great this game is. And I'm like, you are insane. But yeah, we go back and forth.
Well, hell, just the fact that Robbie was like, I'm not even going to get Death Stranding, like, that's like red flags for me. He's like the biggest defender of it, and even he's like, I don't know.
I gotta say, that surprised me. That really did surprise me. And I figured he would do the like, no, I'm not going to get that game, and then, you know, on launch day I'd see him playing it, you know, online or something. I figured it was going to be like that, but as far as I know, he still has not gotten it, which is pretty shocking to me. So...
Well, and that's fine, because now he's probably like balls deep in Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, that's true. I know he got that. And I have it too. I just have not fired it up yet. I just haven't had the time. But it seems like a game I'd like. I don't know. I'm hoping so. Respawn's never let me down, so.
I've heard a lot of like good. I've heard it's not like amazing, but I've heard that it's like really good. And I almost think that like, you know, that if they can make a second game and like learn from the stuff they did in this one, that they can make like a really solid follow-up to it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, if they can just manage to do a really good Force Unleashed game, like, I'm there for that. Like, I really like those games. Those were fun third person action games, and you know, like, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I don't think every game needs to be amazing. Like, nothing needs to be that top shelf, upper echelon, can't touch it, game of the year. Like, I'll take really good. You know? Like, let's go Marvel Cinematic Universe with it. Are there some pretty great movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Of course. Awesome movies. Great ones. Are there ones that are pretty decent that I also really enjoyed? Sure, totally. And then there's like, you know, Thor in the Dark World. But but like, you know, I'll take some really, really good to fill out the great, you know, it's okay. But yeah, I just remember that first, was it Force Unleashed 2, where the game opens with you as Vader and you're just like mowing down Wookiees on their home planet or something like that. It was either Force Unleashed 1 or 2, but then like the game starts with you as Vader and you're just mowing down Wookiees left and right. And I was like, all right, this is my kind of game. I like this. We can do this.
Just
yeah. Just hacking Wookiees in half. It was good times. Speaking of Force Unleashed, have you seen Mandalorian? Are you watching that?
So, I did get Disney Plus, and I've been watching a plethora of the different Disney Plus stuff. Mandalorian being one. I just watched both episodes today. And it's funny because it's like everything I've read on Facebook, everyone's just like talking about how amazing, like Mandalorian's so amazing and it's the best. And so I watched the first episode and I was like, this was really good. I was like, I kind of don't necessarily care for like the voice of like the bounty hunter, like
the bounty hunter,
yeah. Like I'm like, I feel like his voice should be a little deeper, I guess, or like I guess mysterious. I don't know. I was kind of taken away when I heard him speak the first time. I was like, really? I'm like, this is the voice they chose. I was like, all right, but I mean, it's not like he's talking all the time anyway, so it's not like it really matters. But
yeah, he's almost like a silent protagonist in a way.
Yeah, but it was like, you know, kind of like dark-ish and like had like dark kind of tones to it and kind of set a mood. I was like, all right, I was like, I could dig this. And then I watched the second episode and I was kind of like, it threw me off because it had more of like comedic elements and stuff in it. And I was kind of like, huh. I'm like, I don't know story-wise kind of like where they're going with this. And I kind of wasn't expecting, I mean, I'm still going to watch it, but it's like, I was kind of taken back a little by like the second episode. I didn't like it as much as the first episode.
But the second episode was like, oh, there's the Jon Favreau. Okay. Like, all right, there it is. Yeah. But I was also kind of shocked by how short the episodes were.
So I was expecting an hour, and then when
Yeah,
I saw
me
it was
too.
like 36 minutes or something,
Yeah.
I was but I don't, I'm like, 36 minutes? I'm like, that's fine with me. I don't need an
Yeah.
hour of content to like feel validated and like watching it. I'm like, if you can tell a good story in like
Mm-hmm.
36, 42-minute installments, I'm down for that. Like,
That opening episode though was great. I thought, as far as world building went, and just like the, I mean, it just came out, so I'm not going to talk spoilers, but like the thing at the end that he finds was great, like
oh
total
yeah.
great. Like, I mean, me and my wife are both just like, all right, I'm in. Wait, there's one of these? All right, let's do this. You know, like we were so locked in at that point. I like the bounty hunter robot. I thought was a great character. And just I thought they just nailed the overall look of the experience of it all. Like just the world of Star Wars, or the universe, I guess, of Star Wars. They really nailed the aesthetic perfectly, and it had that original trilogy where everything was like broken and dirty and grimy, but like it looked pretty because it's modern, you know. But
Yeah.
like, but it wasn't the like. That was always the part I hated about the prequel trilogy was, wait, this is supposed to be way older, but everything looks 10 times shinier and sleeker and crazy sci-fi than, you know, the like space truckers that you're dealing with in the original trilogy. It's like, how did you go from like the super sleek Coruscant cruiser in episode 1 to like junky ass, you know, Millennium Falcon in episode 2? Like, how did you get from A to B? And in the course of like 50 years, like this isn't something like 400 years later, you know, it's like, no, this is still within like a time frame here. And if it would have went from like junky ass Millennium Falcon to the Coruscant cruiser, you'd be like, oh, okay. You know, I mean, yeah, I look at Model A's now and I look at what I drive today, and sure, advancements, things improve, whatever. But it's like, if you know, 10 years or 50 years from now, people are driving Model A's, I'd be like, wait, something went wrong. This isn't working. Yeah. So it was always a point of, it was just the aesthetic of that trilogy really rubbed me the wrong way to begin with. And then, what was it? It was 2 or 3, I forget which one, but it starts on that planet and one of the cruisers is coming down. It's this big, sleek, you know, Flight of the Navigator looking chrome thing that's coming in for a landing. And the sound that's with it, it sounds like a fucking biplane landing. It's like, and I'm like, the fuck is, like, who picked that noise to go with this crap? I remember I was in the theater with my girlfriend at the time, and we were looking at each other like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are we even watching here? Like, oh, it's so bad. And then they named the villain fucking Dooku. Like, what is this? Like, god damn it. This is the worst. Sorry. I have problems with the prequel trilogy.
No, it's fine. I know. I was like, Megan had episode 1 on the other day, and I was like, why? I'm like, you have so many good things on Disney Plus to put on, and you want to put on fucking episode 1.
Well, she already got through Moana, so
yeah, that's true. We watched Moana. We watched Inside Out. We've been watching the Imagineers documentary.
Oh, how is that? I haven't started that yet, but I've been wanting to check it out.
It is fucking great.
Is it? Okay.
It makes me want to go to Disney. Well, it makes me want 2 things. One, it makes me want to go to Disneyland, which I'm like, congrats. I'm sure that was like what you are like implanted. It's like, go to Disneyland.
It's got your They Live glasses on. It's just like, buy your tickets, you know?
Yeah. But the second thing it makes me wonder as watching it is I'm like, why haven't they built another Disneyland park that is a like faithful recreation of the 1970s Disney park? Like,
interesting.
Disney's changed so much, and I'm like, I almost think like with this documentary, I'm like, it would be so smart of them to rebuild like a new Disneyland, but because like all the original, I mean, Disneyland still has like, you know, Pirates of the Caribbean and like some of the stuff that's like from the original Disneyland, but like I'm like just like original, just like how
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was back then.
Yeah, because I mean, I think the only thing that's kind of still the same is Fantasyland, right? Like with all the OG rides, like Snow White and Peter Pan and all those, like Dumbo and Teacups and all that. I think those are all like from that era. But outside of that, I mean, you're right, Pirates, but they've changed it. And same with the Adventure Time. And I mean, that's also, they changed it because of misogyny, and they changed the Adventure Boat because of racism. But, hey, things happen, I guess. But, but, like, it would be interesting to see kind of a turn back the clock park, in a sense. That would be cool. I would agree with you on that.
But yeah, like the documentary is like pretty cool, because it like covers like Walt Disney like basically building Disneyland and like trying to get like loans and stuff from banks, and they're like, you're fucking crazy, like this isn't gonna work. And like him like building it, and like people who like work there, like when it opened and stuff, they're like interviewing them about like day one of Disneyland, and they were talking about how like they had doubled the max amount of people that like they were expecting, or that the park could handle. And he's like, yeah, dude, like on the teacups, they were like spot welding teacups and shit between rides, and like just trying to hold everything together. Like,
oh my god.
And apparently Disneyland, when they built it, cost at that time in like 1968 or 70, whenever it was built, it cost $17 million to build, which in today's money they said equated to about $168 million.
Jeez.
And I'm
which actually like isn't that much if you think about the scope of it. That would be a paltry. 168 million would be a paltry sum for a project of that magnitude today.
Oh yeah,
but I'm sure a lot of that would be like union wages and all that to build all of that would be way different than it was back then. So
yeah, and they had said that that like within the first 2 months that they had over 1 million guests, and so I'm like, they made their money back.
Oh yeah, and they got it back real quick.
Yeah, and then like the whole second episode is about like Disney World and Tokyo Disney and stuff like that. So it's like they're like building upon it, and it's like kind of cool getting that like behind the scenes look at different things.
I dug how the like shady ass nature Walt Disney went around getting the land for Disney World, where he set up all these like shell companies that were buying parcels of land all right next to each other, but like they were all unaffiliated. They were all like different farming ventures, but they were all funded by Walt Disney, and they all just happened to be buying land that was all right next to each other. And then it's like, oh, and it's actually, we're all selling it to Disney now, and he's building a park here. Yeah, like they were just doing it like a chunk, like an acre or two at a time, just so no one would get wise to what they were doing. But it was all this like money getting funneled behind the scenes, and like different shell companies buying things. It was really fun.
Dude, well, what was funny too was in like the episode with Tokyo Disney, they were talking about how like they're like, yeah, dude, Japan keeps calling us like on a weekly basis wanting to do something with us, and they like didn't really want to like venture overseas or like do anything because they weren't sure with like that, like with our kind of culture and stuff, how it would translate over to there and stuff like that. So they were like, to get them to go away, they were like, all right, we'll build like a Disneyland park in Japan, but we're not going to pay for it. And we're not going to do it, and set up like 10 different contingencies that they're like, we thought it was ridiculous. Like they're like, oh, it'll be like, okay, this is stupid, and just stop bothering us. But they accepted. And so we got suckered into like doing Tokyo Disney. So I thought that was pretty funny that they didn't even want to do it. And then they were like, all right, well, we'll just set something ridiculous. And they're like, okay, yeah. And like, well, fuck, now we have to.
They're like, well, we're locked in now. Okay.
Right. So then I've been watching that, and then The World According to Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, I've wanted to watch that too. I've heard that's, but Jeff Goldblum's totally one of those guys where like, I'd watch him read the dictionary. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of on board with that.
Yeah, that's been really fun, and like those are only like I think it's only like, also like half an hour or something like that. So it's like a nice little. Where like the Disney ones, that shit's like 2 hours like per episode, but it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting. So it's like it doesn't seem like it's that long. But then the Jeff Goldblum ones, it's like nice little short, just him doing what he's like. I'm eating ice cream, and then here's an episode about shoes.
They're like, yeah, all right, I'll listen to Jeff Goldblum talk about shoes. I'm
Yeah,
good.
yeah, and then that's like I also watched the Gordon Ramsay has a show on there too. It's like Gordon Ramsay like Uncharted or something where it's like him going to different countries and like cooking food in whatever culture
Oh, that's
that
kind of
they're
cool.
in
I
and
like
stuff.
that.
And yeah, having like forage for like ingredients and stuff like out in the wilderness and like he's like, you expect me to like fucking scale this mountain for mushrooms and shit like.
That's good. Yeah, I'm a Ramsey guy. I know he rubs some of the people the wrong way, but I like Gordon Ramsay's shtick. I'm with it.
Yeah, I was like,
the
I fucks with like the angry British guy.
Yeah, totally. Like I'm totally on board with that. Yeah, no, we've been spending a lot of our time also with Disney movies. You know, Frozen, Moana, all that stuff. I rewatched Aladdin, which ever since they did the live action, and I've been wanting to watch the animated one again, and then I kind of refused to buy it because around the time the live action one came out, Disney Plus was announced. I'm like, okay, if I can just hold out and not buy this goddamn movie, I know it's going to be on the streaming service. So my patience was rewarded, and man, Aladdin is so good. It holds up so well. Like that movie. That movie does not get the love it deserves, as far as I'm concerned. Like Aladdin is great. Like people always talk like Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. It's like, what? You missed one. There was Aladdin right in there, right in between those two. Like, it's fucking great. Like, I don't know. I don't know why it doesn't get the love.
See, I was like, everyone I talk to like always, I think holds Aladdin to like top three. Like Aladdin's
Really?
always towards it. Yeah, anyone I talk to, it's always like you said, it's always like Aladdin, Lion King, and yeah, I think like Little Mermaid. I think that's usually like the third one.
See, around these parts anyway, it's always Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, and Lion King in some order. Like, but it's those three, you know. And Beauty and the Beast it's not a good movie. I don't understand the love for it. I mean, I understand it's also probably not for me. Women seem to like that movie a lot more than I do. But yeah, that movie, the whole story's just kind of messed up. You know, like it's like, oh, so you got Stockholm syndrome. You love the person like that kidnapped you. That's great, I guess. It's a good message for women. But yeah, like just kind of really, and like Gaston's kind of the good guy in that movie. Like, yeah, he's trying to kill the beast for his own personal reasons, but like also that village thinks Belle's kidnapped. Like, no one's thinking like, oh, Belle's up there living her best life and dancing in ballrooms with fucking dishes and clocks and shit. Like, no one thinks that. Like, they're like, oh, this monster has her in his castle. Like, yeah, we should get our pitchforks and go help Gaston free her. You know, that's like Gaston's not the bad guy in that story. Man, I don't know. The whole movie I've got issues with, but.
Well, that's what's funny too is I'm like one of the like black sheep where I hold like to me like Pinocchio is like one of my top, even though that's not technically like a Disney story, you know, just like Alice in Wonderland and stuff. It's just something they adapted, but
well, I mean, all of them, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. You know, like Aladdin was it 1001 whatever night story or whatever, but they all come from someplace else. But I think Pinocchio's rock solid. Like that whole sequence with Pleasure Island and all that, and the boys get turned into donkeys. Terrifying.
Yeah, I was like,
Terrifying.
I remember that like traumatized me as a kid.
Oh yeah, totally. You're like, I'll never drink or smoke ever.
Right, and getting eaten by the whale and
yeah. Monstro. I remember as a little kid, we went to Disneyland. I was probably 4 or 5. And my father, in his infinite wisdom, took me on the Haunted Mansion ride. And for those that don't know, that ride begins and you go through the big doors of the mansion and you go into a large room. And the room is actually an elevator and it's lowering you down, but it's moving so slowly that you don't really feel it or notice. It's just the room starts stretching out and the paintings on the walls all change to show or elongate to show you this like truly terrifying scene that, one's a guy just sitting there, and then as it elongates, you realize he's sitting on 3 other people that are all sinking into quicksand. Another one is a woman with a pirouette or a parasol, and she's like pirouetting, and then as this elongates, you realize she's standing over a crocodile pit that's going to eat her, things like that. But then a narrator comes on, and he's like, if you look around, you'll notice there's no doors and no windows. How do you get out? Well, there's always my way. And then lightning and thunder crashes, and all of a sudden there's a skeleton hanging from the ceiling. And then you're at the bottom, and the door opens up on the side, and you go into the mansion. That sequence, when I was 4 or 5, terrified me. And as soon as the lights went out, for the rest of that trip, wherever it was dark, it was bad. Dark equaled bad. The rest of that trip for me. And so fast forward, my mom, super pissed at my dad for taking me on this ride because I'm fucking traumatized now. Is like, okay, we're going to go to Fantasyland. We're going to get on Storybook Land. You like boats? We're going to get in this little boat and we're going to go look at these little dioramas and all this. And I lost my goddamn mind because to get through Storybook Land, you go through the mouth of Monstro. And it was dark. And I was like, I'm going to die in this fucking whale. I know it. I know this is how this ends. This is the it for me. I'm going to fucking die in this whale. 4 years old. My life's over. And then I came out the other side and it was all okay. And I calmed down. But it was one of those things like, well, I'll put it this way. It was 36 years ago and I still remember it. Like, that's how burned into my consciousness this moment is for me. The monstro, the whale, terrifying me. But yes, Haunted Mansion.
That is great.
Don't take your kids. Don't take your kids when they're little. Don't do it. That being said, I have taken my son on it when he was like 3, but it was the Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion. They had redone it all Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's much, much tamer. Like, OG Haunted Mansion is kind of fucked up. Like, when you really look at that ride, it's like, man, there's a lot of like shit going on here that's pretty messed up.
Yeah, dude, I was like, one of the episodes of the Imagineer thing, they talk about the Haunted Mansion and stuff, and about how they built it, and like how they achieved some of the different illusions and stuff in it. But one of the parts in the documentary is, I'm like, that's kind of nice, but I'm like, that's also really kind of fucked up, was like one of the chicks who helped, like, who still, I think even to this day, works at Disneyland and like does stuff. I guess her grandmother, like, was one of the like OG like voices, like the come again scene, like whatever. Yeah, and like I guess her mom too was like one of the faces or something, like in the mansion. So cool. she's like, you know, so it's like when I come through here, I get to like hear my grandma and see my mom like every day, and I'm like, and they're dead. And I'm like, so
that's one of those like, oh, that's kind of sweet. And horrifying, like really horrifying, like holy crap. Like, yeah, I get to hear my grandmother say, "Bring your death certificate" every time I leave. It's great.
Yeah, that's her.
Oh Jesus.
Oh man.
Oh good lord.
I've also been watching. I started watching today, like some of the OG season 1 Simpsons.
Oh wow, that's hard to watch now. Like some of those, that first season in particular, like that animation is so rough.
It is rough, but it's like, it's still like the humor's there though. And I think that's what I enjoy. Like, it is rough, but it's like, I also used to watch like on Adult Swim, there was the show Home Movies and stuff, and like Dr. Katz and stuff like that with the really shaky like line animation and stuff. So
Well, the thing I like about the first couple seasons of The Simpsons is because I honestly I don't watch it anymore. Because all the characters slowly over time just became stereotypes. Like they became just like Homer became the dumbest person that's ever lived. You know, Lisa became the feminazi know-it-all. Like, you know, like it like over time these people just became just, you know, almost parodies of themselves. But that's just the character now. And in the first couple seasons, they were actual characters. They had ranges of emotions. They had ranges of, you know, thoughts and processes, and they felt very different to me. And then, I don't know, that all kind of changed it probably changed in like season 8 or 9 or 15 or something. But but no, the original episodes have a heart that the later ones just don't for me. But yeah, I also... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah, I can't even remember the last time I actually, like, watched The Simpsons, like, when it was, like, on Fox or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was in college the last time I would, like, regularly watch The Simpsons, you know? So, it's been a while. That's one of those, like, how is that even still on? You know, like, really, like, how are they still making new ones?
Seriously, I'm like, who is funding this?
Who's watching it? Like, that's my thing. It's like, who's like, I mean, obviously they're making it because people are watching it, but like, who is watching The Simpsons these days? I don't even know. But, now the other gem on Disney Plus that we could wrap on that is just all the old stuff from when I was a kid, you know, like just all the old DuckTales and, you know, the Mighty Ducks and all that stuff that like, it's just awesome. It's just awesome that it's all there. You know, Gummy Bears and stuff like that. Like shows I haven't thought of in 20 years or more. And it's just, they're all right there. And so like, yeah, like having it's a little bit of nostalgia, but just having like my kids know the DuckTales and Gummy Bear songs now is kind of fun, you know? So.
Dude, what blew me away on my timeline was I did not realize how many people I was friends with on Facebook who knew what the fuck Gargoyles was.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Gargoyles is awesome.
My entire timeline is just people watching Gargoyles on Disney Plus, and I was like, dude, like, I did not realize I had so many friends that knew what the fuck that show was. Like,
they gotta bring that one back. That's what they need to put a live action one. I want a live action Gargoyles. Let's do that.
I know, I'm almost surprised that, like, Netflix or something, like, I mean, they picked up, like, Thundercats and, like, whatever else, like, I'm surprised they didn't try to, like, go for Gargoyles or something to do, like, a Netflix original, new revamp, Redux adaptation of it.
I'm kind of shocked no one's, like, I'm kind of shocked that, like, no one stole that idea and just, like, renamed it something, you know, or just, it's a cool idea, though. Just these like monsters are in this castle, and when it gets above the clouds, they all come to life. You know, it's a great one. I don't know. It seems like someone should have stolen that over the last 20 years. You know.
I was like, Seth MacFarlane's gonna steal it and call it like Gargiles or something, and it's like,
yeah. And they're all
Seth Rogen.
Argyle. they're all wearing Argyle. Yeah. They're the Gargiles.
The Gargiles. Oh man, I was like, Disney Plus has taken over as like the go-to streaming app at our house.
Mm-hmm. For sure, and it'll be that way. That's why we did the pre-order, where it's like you pay for 3 years in advance, but you got it for like under $4 a month or something like that. And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I've got 2 little kids, and I like Star Wars. I like all the Marvel stuff. Like, I'm going to be watching this anyway. Yeah, just take the money, give me 3 years. I'm good. You know, like I will be using it, and I have been. Like I feel like I've gotten my money out of it already. So. Yeah,
I did the bundle with Hulu and stuff because we already had Hulu, so I was just like, yeah, why not like tack it on there.
Yeah, and see, and now your fiance gets to watch Moana, so life is good.
Exactly. And that's what's funny is, like, when I posted that, it's not even like I have anything against Moana. It was just funny because, like, we literally watched it, like, 2 weeks ago, like, on Netflix. And then I was like, we downloaded Disney Plus, and that was the first thing that she watched. I was like, you can literally, like, we already watched this. Like, there's all these other things that we haven't seen in forever, and you chose the one movie we watched like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, but it's like I said on the post. It's the best Disney movie. I will die on that hill. Moana is the best Disney animated movie. Like, period. Done. Nothing added, no ellipsis, nothing added to that sentence, no ifs, ands, or buts. It's the best one. Like, it just is. I mean, that fucking sequence at the beginning where baby Moana goes down to the ocean, where she gets the rock, right? And the ocean opens up, and the fucking, there's Crush and the baby turtle from Nemo swimming around in there. And all. That is stunning. The whole sequence is jaw-dropping, and every time I watch it, I'm like, how did they fucking do that? Like, that is just so good. And it never really goes down from there throughout the whole thing. Like, the animation is second to none, and I love the fact that it's a story that doesn't have a fucking love interest. That's honestly what I love about Frozen and Moana is there's no sappy, over-the-top love interest to it. It's a story about this girl who has a mission, and she's doing it. And that's all you need to know. That's like, there's no Maui, Moana, awkwardness or Beauty and the Beast bullshit in that. And I keep going back to Beauty and the Beast, and I don't know why. But
you got a bone to pick.
Yeah. It's just down my brain now. And, it's just like, it's a really good, fast-moving, empowering story, and it's great. And your fiance is smart. It's a great movie.
Oh man, I was like, strangely enough too, I also for like the first time in I don't know when, I actually picked up 2 games on Steam, which I was since I've gotten a Switch, I haven't bought anything on Steam. Okay. But I picked up Edmund McMillan's new game came out, which is a prequel to Binding of Isaac, and it's called The Legend of Bumbo.
Uh-huh.
And it's basically, it's like Binding of Isaac meets Puzzle Quest meets like Paper Mario.
All right.
I know. I was like,
on board. Like, yeah,
I was like, all 3 of those are like buzzwords for me. So I was like, sign me up. Because it's like match 3. Well, actually, it's like match 4. It's like match 4 or more. But everything's like made out of cardboard and has this whole kind of like cardboard paper like aesthetic.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at it now. That looks super crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you like move instead of like swapping like one thing, you're like moving entire rows horizontal or vertical. And it's like you have like 2 moves where it's like you can move, whatever, and you match it, and you like add the mana to like your pool, to then like you have different moves and stuff that like as you go through the game and stuff, you get like new moves and like stuff like that, and can like swap them out or like whatever. So then like you invest the mana into those moves to like use on enemies. So, and the other one I picked up is called Cat Lady, and it's also it's also.
I like the name. I'm on board already.
Yeah, it's like Binding of Isaac in the sense where it's kind of top down, like dungeon crawler, but the whole premise is it's basically Binding of Isaac but with cats. Like you're this instead of shooting tears out your face, you throw cats. Like you ball cats up and like throw them across the room at enemies and stuff. They like bounce around and come back, and you get like different cats that have like different abilities and stuff like that do different things.
All right.
And both of those are coming to Switch at some point, but it was like I wanted them like now, so I was like, all right, I guess getting them on Steam.
So you're really getting your Binding of Isaac fix in these days, huh?
Yeah, I was like, and plus there's like a new expansion coming out for it too. I think at like the end of the year, like the final one, which I mean, keeps saying the final one, but it keeps making money, so it's like, all right, we're gonna do one more.
Yeah, it's like these old rock bands that are on their like retirement tour until the next tour, you know. Yeah.
The last tour.
Yeah. The final. But it's Binding of Isaac was one of those games I didn't really. It's one of those things where it kind of like what was the other indie game that was super popular? Braid. It was very similar. I had a very similar reaction where I'm playing it going like, I totally, absolutely, 100% get how people fell in love with this game. Spelunky was like that too. Mm-hmm. But like, I never grabbed me, but I could totally see it while I was playing it. You know, like it was one of those things where I'm like, oh yeah, I totally understand why this game is like a crazy obsession with. I have friends that have put hundreds, if not 1,000 hours into Binding of Isaac. And it's just, for myself, it just never grabbed me that way, but like, I absolutely get it, you know?
Yeah, I was like, that's me. I was like, I probably have bought it just as many times as I've bought fucking Skyrim, like, across every console.
Yeah. You're like, I just got to keep it going.
I was like, that's pretty much, I've been playing Skyrim recently on Switch and stuff too, and I'm like,
oh jeez,
I'm like, fucking Todd Howard keeps taking my goddamn money every single time. But it's like, I just get in like the mood to like want to play like Skyrim. Like, I want to go around and just fuck shit up in Skyrim.
Are you messing with Outer Worlds at all?
No, I do want to play it, but because I had Game Pass for like a little while, but I had like get the 2 months for $2 and stuff, and
sure, yeah.
I did that. It's just because it's totally great, and I would totally play Game Pass more if like it's just I rarely play on the Xbox, so
gotcha.
It's not worth it to me, but I've heard good things, and it's like.
Yeah, I have it downloaded, and I'm just waiting for a window to dig into it, because when people are like, oh, it's a super streamlined, like, Skyrim type experience, like, yeah, I'm on board for that. Like, give me that, you know? Like, I'm a way more focused Obsidian type game. Sure, I'm on board, you know? Like, give me that. So, hopefully, I want to get that knocked out before Game of the Year happens, so I'm hoping the weekend after Thanksgiving looks pretty empty right now, and I can burn through it. So that's a goal.
Do you have anything in like your like top like kind of area for Game of the Year like right now?
It's a weird year. It's a weird year this year for those type of games. Because like last year, like as soon as I played God of War, I'm like, oh, that's probably going to be my Game of the Year. Like, that was an amazing experience. I couldn't put it down. But this year, I haven't had that, like, immediate reaction to anything I've played, really. Resident Evil 2 remake is probably up there. That was really, really good. Fucking Tetris Effect is probably up there. Like, people forget that came out in... Or no, not Tetris Effect. Tetris 99 is probably up there. That came out in January. And that game consumed my life for like a month and a half. It was insane. As far as recent stuff, Pokemon Sword will probably end up there. I mean, I'm putting a lot more time into it, but I could see that one definitely climbing the charts. And I'm sure there's stuff I'm forgetting, but it's just... Honestly, there hasn't been that one single amazing experience yet. Like Gears 5 was probably as close as I've gotten. And because that's like the first time Gears of War has done something a little different. And it was really good. And the story actually made you want to play it. It wasn't like, well, I'm just going to burn through this just to get the lore and then go back to multiplayer. Because that's all I ever played in Gears was multiplayer. It's like, no, I actually like did everything I could do in the single player because I really wanted to see all the content and all the storyline in it, which was a very unique experience for me. As far as Gears go, I was really counting on Doom Eternal being that game for me this year, but that got pushed to next year. So that was a big bummer. But no, I still want to play Call of Duty. I still want to play Luigi's Mansion 3. I still need to do Outer Worlds. Outer Wilds is actually probably on that list for me. Did you fuck with Outer Wilds at all?
No, but I remember listening to you talk, and it totally sounds like you were describing just like the first like 20 minutes, and I was like, man, this sounds like something right up my alley.
Yeah. I actually think you would really like that game. It's one of those things. It takes like an hour or two to kind of get your feet under you in that game, because the controls are really weird, and what you do is really kind of odd. It takes a while to figure out that you're on like a 20-minute timer, because you obviously don't realize it at first because you die a lot trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. But I want to say first 5 minutes I fell off a cliff and died, and I was like, well, okay, I'm going again. All right, well, let's try again. But no, Outer Wilds is probably, now that I think about it, that was probably one of the most unique games I've played this year, and probably one of the best. Like, it's really good. So I would, if you get that one on a sale for cheap somewhere down the line, definitely give that one a look. It's really good.
You still need to play Devil May Cry 5 too.
You're right. I do. Shit, that came out.
Yeah, I know that came out. That blows me away that came out this year, because it feels like forever ago.
Yeah, like we were saying on our show, like Anthem came out this year, and it's like I feel like I've been complaining about that game for 5 years now, you know. And it's like, no, that came out in April, you know. It's like shit. Yeah, like I said, it's just a really weird year for games all across the board. But I think it's because the console generations are switching. People are holding stuff back. People, you know, they don't want to show all the cards that they've got for big new projects. So you're kind of getting, it's that end of the cycle dump. You know, it's good stuff, but not great stuff. I feel like last year was that last big push for this generation. And then next year will be all about the new stuff. So we'll see.
Sounds good. All right. So I was like, we're going to wrap up this episode here. Is there anywhere our listeners can listen to you?
Oh, sure. Yeah, you can find me on That Pixel Life. It's a video game and media based podcast. We're on all the platforms. If you've got, you know, iTunes or Stitcher or whatever you use to Spotify, whatever you use to get your podcast, you can find us there. It's That Pixel Life. I'm on Twitter at Zakal, Zakal, and that's where you can find me.
All right.
Sorry, just had to. Sorry, in the middle of that, I had to fucking cough my lungs out.
It's all good. All right, we'll wrap it up there. And before we go, thanks for listening. And just as a reminder, you can pick your friends and you can pick your nose, but you can't pick your friend's nose.